everyone, welcome back to the Strong Opinion Hibs podcast. As always, I'm Charlie and I'm joined by, first of all, Jack. Jack, how you doing, mate?
I'm no bad. I'm still quite upset from Saturday for the two derby defeats. It wasn't a great day, that, but I'm good now.
Good, mate. And Calvin's here as always. Calvin, how you doing, mate?
Doing fine, thanks, mate. Doing fine.
Good. And we're delighted to announce that we're joined by ex-Hibs striker Tam McManus on the podcast tonight. Tam, how are you doing?
I'm good, boys. Good. Looking forward to Saturday.
Hi, I wish I could say the same. Well, Tam, we'll just jump right into it, mate. And the first wee bit we're going to talk about is just your role with Hibs TV. So, first of all, how did that come about, Tam? How did you end up on Hibs TV?
Obviously, with the pandemic, a lot of the clubs were doing their own TV channels, and Greg McEwen got in touch with me from Hibs and just asked me if I would fancy coming on and doing the Hibs TV, and I jumped at it. You know, it was a great opportunity for me, and you know, I still support the club, love the club, so it was great for me to come in, and it was at a time where a lot of people couldn't get to games, couldn't get to football, so I was incredibly lucky to go and see Hibs week in, week out. So no, I really enjoy it. Obviously, I've got my own opinion on things, and some Hibs supporters agree with it at times and some don't, but I think that's what football's all about. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and I only want the best for the club. I want the club to win every week. I want the club to win things. So, you know, I'm passionate about the club as well as the supporters. So, no, I'm really delighted to still be involved with Hibs TV.
Aye, definitely. You mentioned there about obviously the pandemic, and the three of us, along with many other supporters across the country, were locked out of the grounds for a season. So what was it like, Tam? Obviously, we spoke to Dave Armstrong and he said it was surreal, being one of the only couple of people on the ground. So for you, what was it like commentating on that season, last season with Hibs?
It was eerie, to be honest. It was, you know, there was nobody there. You could hear every shout. It was like a bounce game. You know, it was like a reserve game or just a closed door game. And as I said, you could hear every shout from the players, every shout from the managers. It wasn't the same without the supporters. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Now, some players would have liked that, no playing in the crowd. You know, some players would have enjoyed the pressure of not playing in front of a crowd. You know, and the pressure of fans not reacting to a mistake or a missed chance or anything like that. So I get some players would have enjoyed that. With a little bit of pressure off, but a lot of players would have missed the supporters. They thrive on the atmosphere. You know, they thrive on the noise. So for myself and Dave and Cliff, it was an eerie season, but thankfully for us, Hibs had a really good season. You know, we finished third in the league, and we got to the last stages of the cups. So it was a good season for us. So it was good that it was a good season rather than, you know, struggling near the bottom, or else it would have been torture, to be honest.
Aye, and on that, what was the general feel around the club last season? Obviously, getting to the League Cup semi-final, the Scottish Cup final, finishing third. As a season out of the blue, like we've never seen a season like this. What was the general mood in the camp? Was it a positive one, although we had no fans, or was it it's been good, but we wish the fans were here to see it?
Yeah, I think the players would have wanted the fans to be there. You know, a lap of honour the last game of the season to finish third, because it's a big achievement. You know, that's the highest that Hibs can finish. Let's be blunt about it. You know, we're never going to win the league. You know, Celtic, Rangers are always going to dominate that with the budget they've got and the players they've got. So finishing best of the rest is a good achievement for Hibs. And you know, it was to finish third was really, really good to get into the latter stages of both cups. Again, no fans there, which, you know, was upsetting for the players probably as well. You know, they wanted to run out in front of 25,000 Hibs supporters there supporting the team. So, albeit at the end when you get beat, you're glad there's no fans there because you're not getting stuck. You walk back in the tunnel. So, no, it was a really good season for the club. Unfortunately, this season, you know, the supporters back, it hasn't been quite the same level of consistency for the team. So, the supporters probably feel as if they missed out on a good season, but you know, there's still time to redeem it and to win the Scottish Cup.
Absolutely. And what, Tam, last wee question on the Hibs TV stuff before I pass you over to Jack is, what's been your favourite game to commentate on Hibs TV?
Try to think. Listen, there was lots of games, but I liked the European game, Rijeka at home, because I felt as if that was the first game back. The supporters, there was a great crowd. I know there wasn't a full house that night against Rijeka, but I thought Hibs were brilliant that night. Deserved to win the game. You know, the atmosphere was tremendous, and that was the first real taste that I had of Hibs TV of the supporters being back in. So, although we never won the game, I felt as if that was a really strong performance against a good side. and it was great to have the supporters back in that night. So probably the Rijeka home game.
Aye, that was a good game, and I think the three of us were there. That was class that night. So, Jack, the floor's your, mate. Take it away.
So we're just going to go over some of your memories from the Edinburgh Derby now, Tam. And first of all, what does the Edinburgh Derby mean to you as a fixture?
Oh, it's enormous. It's a huge fixture. I was lucky. My first ever start was in an Edinburgh Derby way back in I think it might have been 1998, 99. I'm not quite sure of that, but it was the last game of the season. And Hibs had just come back into the Premier League after winning the Championship. And we were finished comfortable that season with a good season, and Alton McLeish gave some opportunities to some younger boys that game. So I played wide right at Tynecastle and had a really good game actually, up against Gary Naismith, who was a top player at Scottish International, and gave him a really hard time. So that was my first real, taste of an Edinburgh Derby. What it means to me is huge because, obviously I come from the West in Glasgow, and a lot of it's Celtic Rangers dominated through there, but I lived through in Edinburgh for a couple of seasons and obviously played for Hibs for 7 years, and I get how passionate the fans are about this fixture. It's a real big fixture, and you don't want to be on the end of a defeat. Me personally, going into every Derby game, you wanted to win it, but you didn't want to get beat. Because if you got beat, you would get abuse off your own fans. Rightfully so, because they were passionate and wanted to see the team doing well. So no, it's a massive fixture, and it's mental that the last 2 weeks have been back-to-back Edinburgh Derbies. I can't remember that in my time anyway, particularly league and then the cup. So Hibs have got to go out and get revenge on the weekend.
Definitely. I think I love the Edinburgh Derby as a fixture as well. I think it's a great advert for Scottish football, along with the Dundee Derby as well. I think it's a sort of great advert for Scottish football outside the Old Firm as a rivalry. And obviously, it's the oldest of the Derby fixtures in Scotland, one of the oldest Derby fixtures in Scotland as well, and in world football. So I think it's fantastic. So obviously, you touched on that just there, but your first Hibs start was in an Edinburgh Derby. So what was that like, and what were your emotions on the day?
Well, Alton McLeish never told me the night before, which I was glad about because I would never slipped a wink. But we get to Tynecastle in the morning of the game, and I can remember reading the team out, and Ed didn't even said to me that was starting. I just think he wanted to surprise me, so I didn't have too much time to think about it. And he read the team out, and I had to double check that I was in the team. He said McManus, and I went, I'm starting. I can't believe it. So I never had enough time really to get nervous. It was about an hour and a half before the kickoff, and I can remember it was John Hughes' last game for Hibs, and before the game we were in the tunnel, and I was nervous, and I can remember Yogi saying to me, if you go out here and hide, wee man, don't you worry about the Jambos, I'll batter you. So I had to go out and play well. I think Yogi was going to do me in, but I can remember it was a brilliant atmosphere. Tynecastle was electric on an Edinburgh Derby game, and unfortunately we lost the game 2-1, but I can remember, I think it was Mixer Pat Lyons scored the equaliser right in front of all the Hibs supporters, and I can remember ending up in the net, celebrating all the Hibs supporters, and I've got a great picture of that in the house somewhere, where me in the net and we're all cuddling Big Mixer and Pat McGinley. So no, it was great memories for me. Unfortunately, I never won an Edinburgh Derby at Tynecastle, even been 4-2 up with about 2 minutes to go, we drew 4 each, so it wasn't a lucky stomping ground for me. But at home, I definitely fared better with a couple of draws and a couple of wins, including one with 10 men when Gary O'Connor scored. So yeah, I was lucky to play in Edinburgh Derbies, I know that, and I was lucky to play in winning teams as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, what was it like for you as a young player, like stepping out at Tynecastle? Obviously, it can be quite a hostile atmosphere for any team, but especially in the Derby, it sort of gets ramped up because it's all sort of closed in Tynecastle. So it must have been like mental stepping out onto that pitch. All the Hearts fans, singing Hearts, Hearts, Glorious Hearts, and all the Hibs fans, loud in the away end as well.
It was electric. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. The hairs in the back of my neck were standing up, and I was going down the far side, the Wheatfield stand, the first half, and I can remember Gary Naismith half me in two, and I ended up on the track, and the Hearts fans were slapping me in the head and grabbing my jersey. They were that close to as you say, they can reach over and touch you when you take a throw in. But I think that makes the atmosphere. It's so enclosed and it's so tight. And no, I thoroughly enjoyed the game. It flew by. I think I played 75 minutes and then I was knackered and get it off. But no, a brilliant memory for me to play at Tynecastle and to play in the Edinburgh Derby.
Absolutely. And what were your sort of favourite Edinburgh Derby moments as a player outside of that?
Probably, well, obviously I scored, and my only Edinburgh Derby goal was in the 4 each game, and I scored a header. He put us 2-0 up, and I thought, we're well on our way to winning that game, and coming off at 4-2, I think 3 minutes to go. I was planning my night out that night, to be honest. It was just after New Year, and we had been dubbed up over Christmas and New Year with loads of games, and Bobby Wilson had said to us, listen, if he's winning the night, he's a laugh for 3 days. So I can remember sitting in that dugout 4-2 up, having scored my first ever Edinburgh Derby goal, thinking this is going to be a Carlsberg night for me, but unfortunately we ended up drawing 4 each, and I think we were in the next day. So that was probably one of my worst ones. But the best ones, Gary O'Connor scoring the last minute goal. We played Hearts at home. They were big favourites. It was live in the BBC, and Grant Bredner gets sent off, I think, after 25 minutes. And I can remember we were backs against the wall. We were hanging on. We dug in. You know, we just wanted one chance. You know, you just think to yourself, listen, just keep it in 0-0. You might get a wee chance in the last 10 minutes. And Gary O'Connor went through, and when that goal went in, the noise at Easter Road was amazing. You know, with 10 men to play for 70 minutes to beat a strong Hearts team was a brilliant memory for us. And Big Gary went away celebrating. We were all celebrating the bench. So no, that was my best one. 1-0, Gary O'Connor scoring the winner.
I think that one with Gary O'Connor is just one of those top moments at Easter Road. Obviously, we've got 6-2 and everything like that. I think that's like the one for me that I always watch back, and I love it. I love that one. So obviously you've played another one of Scotland's sort of derbies, the Dundee Derby. So what were your sort of favourite moments for those derbies, Tam?
Well, I played in 2 Dundee derbies. First one was at Tannadice. We drew 2 each, and I scored a diving header to equalise to go 2 each. So that was a great memory for us. Another one was at Dens Park, and we lost 2-1, and I get sent off in the last minute for Barry Robson elbowed me in the snib, and I just took a red mist and nearly decapitated him at the hip. So before I even looked at the referee, I started walking off, and we lost that 1-2-1. So one very good memory scoring at Tannadice, one bad memory getting beaten, getting sent off. So, but again, that's a great fixture. You seen it last week, and Charlie Adams scored that equaliser. You know, that's a big derby up there as well. Listen, it's not as intense as the Edinburgh Derby, but still both sets of fans want to win that, and that was a great experience for me to play in that fixture as well.
And what's the walk like? Obviously, there's the famous walk for Dens Park, didn't he, Tannadice? What's that like on the day?
It was mad. You know, you parked your car at Dens Park and for an away game. You walked in, and there was a few Dundee United fans at the side, being pelters as we walked down. But it's, listen, as you know yourself, it's only about 50-yard walk down, and it's probably, you know, unique in world football just to see two grounds right next to each other. You know, it's a special thing, that. So, you know, there's been a lot of talk about Dundee maybe merging stadiums and playing one stadium, but I would keep I think that's great for Scottish football. That we walk down, it's a part of the culture here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I quite like the Dundee Dogs. I've got a few Dundee United supporting pals, and you know, you just see the passion for it in their city as well. Obviously, like you said, it's not anywhere near the level of the Edinburgh Derby. I think it's a great derby. Like I said earlier, a good advert for Scottish football again, and the sort of passion that Scottish football fans have. So, just finally, on your derby memories, Tam, you discussed it a little while back there, but obviously the 4-4 thriller at Tynecastle, that was your only Edinburgh Derby goal, and it was our opening goal as well. What were the emotions like on that day for winning the game to drawing 4-4, and what was it like to sort of play in that game with all the permutations and the back and forth and everything like that?
It was incredible. We went 2-0 up. Derek Townsley scored. Then we went 4-2 up. And as I said, I'd come off, I think, and I couldn't believe it. When the 4th goal went in, it was like the Hearts fans were on the pitch, and the perspex on our dugout get caved in. You know, get panned in. It was all over the place. The Hearts fans went mental, and they were in their dugout, and because they couldn't believe it. I mean, there was probably half the Hearts fans left after 4-2. You know, so probably just the diehards were waiting at the end, and Yannick Zambernardi, I mean, I'll never forgive him for that. Honestly, God, he had a nightmare. You know, we went 4-2 up. We lost a goal, and then it was our centre, obviously. And we asked the 4th official, because I'd been off by then, we asked the 4th official how long left, and he said, that's it, time. As soon as the ball goes out of play. So if he'd have hit the ball out for a throw-in, they're renting, you know, with the blown whistle, he took the ball got played back to him, he played it straight through to their goalkeeper. And Roddy McKenzie, last chance, punted up the pitch, De Vries flicked it on, and then Weir scored. So if they've just kicked the ball out the pitch, we'd have won the game. So incredible. It'll never happen again. And I've been relegated a few times and different things, but I don't think I've ever been sick in my life when we come off of that game, because Bobby had never won a derby, and he was under real pressure to win a derby game. And remember, Alex Ferguson threw a boot at David Beckham and hit him in the eye. Well, Bobby Wilson threw one at Yannick Zambernardi. It wouldn't have been a cut in his eye. I think he'd have been out for 6 months with concussion because he was raging at him. He went for him after the game, Bobby, because he knew, you know, they were that close to winning the game, and it was just an individual error where he just got to play out the pitch. So, no, that's not a great memory for me. But as I said, I scored my only Edinburgh Derby goal, so that's something I can obviously remember for a good parts of it.
But we got our revenge in 2016. We made them bottle of Leeds. So,
Right.
that one. I can remember my granddad talking about the 4-4 game and using the words to affect the bloody hoodies or something like that when he was talking about it. Because my granddad came from the generation where he was used to obviously getting wins over Hearts quite regularly and everything like that. So I think, you know, it was a tough one for a lot of Hibs fans that day, but it was just one of those games. But I can imagine what the feeling would have been like when you scored that, because when Dre Wright scored, obviously our opening goal on Saturday, I was on my back, you know, I was right next to their lot, and I stepped onto the security tape stuff and it snapped under me and I was on my back like a turtle. So I always like it when Hibs scored. It was just like the way the Roseburn stand erupts every time we score. It's fantastic. So I'll pass you on to Calvin now, who's going to take a look ahead to the semi-final with you.
No bother.
Hi, Tam. So just obviously you were fortunate enough to play in an Edinburgh Derby, and us as fans could sort of only imagine or only dream of playing in a derby ourselves. What's the build-up to an Edinburgh Derby like?
I think you know that it's a different type of game. You know, it's the build-up starts obviously when the game finishes the week before. The Monday morning you come in, you're looking ahead to the Edinburgh Derby, and obviously the press, you know, that ramps up as well. There's a lot of different people at the ground, you know, what interview people, you know, at the training grounds, whether that's Sky or BBC or the papers. So you do feel it's a more important game. I lived in Edinburgh at that time, and when you get out for a cup of tea or going for a coffee or out about going to shops, you hear people saying, "Listen, Tam, you know, we need to beat them in the weekend." You know, so you know for the supporters as well, you know, you can feel it that it's a big game and it's one you can't afford to lose. As I said, you love to win an Edinburgh Derby, but you didn't want to lose it, you know, because a draw, listen, everybody we've kept reasonably happy. But the build-up was totally different from a run-of-the-mill game at the time, and you just want to make sure you're in the team, to be honest. You know, you want to work hard in training that week. You want to show the manager that you deserve to play, because that's the games that you want to play in. You want to play in the big games. And everybody's game, I think, ramps up intensity that week and you're into the game.
So, like you said, obviously Hibs have just played Hearts and came off the back of a nasty result. We've got Hearts again this weekend, so back in the building on Monday, like you would have said. Obviously, you know, a lot of people have had their say, you know, a lot of Hibs fans online, on Twitter and things like that, on Facebook, that sort of new social media platforms. How do you think that sort of affects the players or in their preparation for this week? Having lost the previous weekend, what do you think the Hibs players will be doing to prepare?
Well, if I was any of them, I wouldn't go on social media. You know, I'm glad it wasn't really about when I was playing. It was just, I think Hibs.net was the only thing that we could, the fans could show their fury. To be honest, you couldn't tag you on Twitter and all that stuff. So I was glad of that, because I think it would have upset me as a player if people were giving me abuse. So I understand, you know, fans are angry, but I don't agree with people tagging players and stuff and giving them personal abuse. You can say it's not good enough or whatever, but I think there's a line and some supporters cross that. But no, I do think that the build up to this week is going to be, I think Sean on Monday morning would have went in and just try to lift the players, because you know, listen, it was a poor performance. Listen, we've all seen the game, and I was at the game working for Hibs as well, and second half I thought it was a really, really poor performance, and I think that's putting it politely. When the third goal went in, I didn't think there was any chance of Hibs getting back into the game. And I think, listen, Sean spoke about it after the game. It wasn't good enough. So did Paul Hanlon. So I think they're going to see a big reaction on Saturday. Now, I'm not saying that Hibs are going to go win the game, but I think they're going to see a big reaction on Saturday from the Hibs players. I really do. I just feel like if it was me, if I was in their shoes and I'd just been gubbed in an Edinburgh Derby and I got to play them again the following week, I would be bursting to get out of that tunnel. I really would. I'd be bursting to get into the game and make a tackle, make an impression, you know. Just try and obviously be as positive as I can, and I think that's what Sean will be trying, you know, get into the players, that you can beat Hearts, because if the Hibs players have not got that belief in the tunnel, you know, when they line up in that tunnel on Saturday and they look across to the Hearts boys and they don't think they can win, then you're beat already. You've got to stand in that tunnel and you've got to puff your chest out and you've got to think we're going to win the day. And if all the Hibs players do that, then we're capable of beating Hearts.
Just to sort of flip that on its head and look at it from the other point of view, how do you think the Hearts players will be feeling this weekend? Obviously, having beat Hibs, I guess there's a lot of expectation on him as well. Never lost at Hampden. How do you think they'll be feeling heading into the weekend? Will they be looking at Hibs as a bit of a wounded animal, or do you think they'll be looking at them to sort of just roll over again?
I hope they're looking at Hibs as they're going to roll over again. I hope they're complacent, because if they are, then they could get their comeuppance, But I think in terms of Robbie Nielsen, will be trying to keep that out. That complacency. You've got to reset and go again. Because for me, Hibs will be a wounding animal. Hibs have got to come out the traps on Saturday. They've got to come out and get the fans right behind the team, right from the start. And whether that's going in and cementing somebody fairly on Amiad, or getting shots at goal, putting Hearts under pressure. Hibs have got to start the game well and get the fans behind the team again, because there's not been a lot to shout about for the Hibs supporters this season. Certainly wasn't last week at Tynecastle. As I said, myself and Cliff were there in the Wheatfield stand, and listen, it was really disappointing. So a lot of fans travelling through to Hampden, and Hibs have got to, you've got to roll the sleeves up. You've got to give them something to shout about. You've got to make up for last week. And if Hearts are complacent, I hope they are. Then I would fancy Hibs, but I don't think they will be. I think Robbie will be into them all week to make sure that there's no complacency setting in. But Hearts will be confident. Listen, Hearts have no lost to Hibs this season. They know how to beat Hibs. They know they can beat Hibs. And on the flip side of that, do the Hibs players know they can beat Hearts? Well, they don't, because they've not beaten them this season. So a lot of psychology going into the game, and that's where the coaching staff are big, trying to get into the players' heads.
So that leads on to my next question. Why do you think Hearts seem to have that sort of psychological advantage over Hibs?
I don't know. I really don't know. I felt it when I was at the club. I felt as if the Hibs supporters kind of half expected Hearts to win. And I felt as if some of the players maybe half expect them to win. And I don't know if that's been long before my time. It just seemed to be, I can only say that was when I was a player under Bobby. But when I was a player under Alex McLeish had a brilliant record against Hearts, and I just felt as if the fans expected Hibs to win. I don't know. It's just, I think it goes in cycles. I think right now, if you're asking me right now, do the Hibs supporters truly believe that they're going to beat Hearts on Saturday? I don't know. I don't think so. But that doesn't matter. It's about the players. The players have got to believe that they can win. It's the players that are playing the game, not the supporters. And as I said, it's a big job on for Sean and the coaching staff to get into the players' heads. And psychologically, listen, we're going to win. We're going to win. We're going to beat Hearts. This is how we're going to do it. In the training ground, this is how we're going to threaten Hearts. This is how we're going to break them open. This is how we're going to break them down. This is the areas that we can hurt them. And if Hibs can do that, and truly believe that they can go out and win the players to a man, then we can win.
Now, just something you mentioned in the interview earlier was that, you mentioned both teams are probably, or Hibs and probably be cautious not to lose the derby. Do you think that's how Hibs will set up at the weekend, or do you think Hibs will sort of come out guns blazing, or do you think they'll be? Obviously, there's a lot at stake, so will they be trying not to lose the game rather than win the game, or?
No, I hope they're trying to win the game. I felt as if we started the game superbly last week at Tynecastle. First 25 minutes, Hearts were all over the place. We got the goal. If we could have got the second goal, I don't think we'd have lost the game. So. I think Hearts will go and get after Hibs will go and get after Hearts again. You've got to, as I said, you can't come out tentatively in a semi-final. Particularly the week before, when Hearts are beaten, you've got to come out flat out and try and get that first goal, and put Hearts under pressure. Because if Hearts get the first goal, the players might think, "Oh, here we go again." The fans in the stand might think, "Oh, here we go again." So you've got to try and be positive. Park any negative thoughts you've got in the tunnel, and go out in that park with only positive thoughts in your mind that you're going to win the game. And as I said, if all the Hibs players can do that, we've got enough quality to win the game. I know that. But it's just about the players believing that they can.
Yeah, just like us, Tam, you've watched Hibs all year. Who do you think are the players in that team that can make a difference this weekend?
Well, what's the team selection of interest? Billy bring Lewis Stevenson back in. I hope he does, personally. Darren McGregor's another one who could possibly come back in, who knows what the derby's about. So it'll be interesting to see the team. I think there'll be changes. Trey Wright, I don't think is going to make it, so I think there'll be changes. Ewan Henderson, highly rated young player, still to really show, I feel, what he's about. This could be the perfect. This could be the perfect stage for him, perfect situation for him to announce that he's a top player. So But for me, Chris Cadden's been excellent this season. I really like Chris Cadden. I think if I was a striker playing with Chris Cadden, I would love that because I know exactly what he's going to do. He's not going to try and beat the fullback. He gets the ball, he takes a touch, he whips it in every time. So strikers, I've probably gone about it every week on Hibs TV. When he takes his touch, just make it run because he's going to put it in. He's not going to try and do a step over. And he puts great balls into the box. Chris Cadden, he's fit. He gets up and down all day. The wide open space in the hand and he'll suit him. So he's one. And if Ewan Henderson comes back in, we spoke about Melkerson. I felt sorry for him last week because I don't think he's ready to lead the line as a 19-year-old boy against Hearts at Tynecastle. He'd be up there himself. He needs a hand up there. James Scott, for me, he's no been good enough. Is there still time for him? I don't think so. But will he play him up front with Melkerson? Will he play two up front? I don't know. Deutsch seems to be struggling with injury. So, listen, he's got a lot of decisions to make, Sean, about who he plays and who doesn't play. I'm glad that Ryan Porteous is coming back in. Ryan's an excellent player. He's a leader. Yeah. And I felt as if our back three were bullied last week by their two strikers, Sims and Boyce. So Porteous will come in. He rallies guys around about him. His enthusiasm is infectious. He was superb in the last derby. The 0-0 at Easter Road, did a great game, man of the match. So I think him coming back in is a huge boost for us. So if you're asking me who do I think can make the difference, well, I think Ryan Porteous can make a difference, and I think Chris Cadden can make a difference.
Just to touch on that as well, a lot of people are thinking that Maloney might make changes to starting 11. Do you think that maybe sends the wrong message to the fan base, or do you think it's sort of do you think it sends the wrong message to the fan base because it might leave people asking, he doesn't know his best 11 if he brings Stevenson back in? Because that 11 he put out at the weekend there, surely he thought was good enough to compete and beat Hearts. But now that he's obviously been on the end of a defeat and he's now making maybe 2 or 3 changes to his squad, what does that sort of say for Maloney? Or do you think it's good, sort of looking on the flip side of that, is it good you've got guys like McGregor coming back in because you've got that experience perhaps, somebody who knows what it's about, someone who's won at Hampden several times?
I think that him and Gary Caldwell, and I know both of them well, I think they'd have looked at that tape after the game and they'd have thought, we need more experience in the team. We need more dig in the team.
Yeah.
Definitely. And because I thought Hearts dominated in the middle of the park, I thought the big boy Haring and Halliday in there dominated our midfield players. I thought the 2 strikers were better than our back 3. So I think Sean and Gary will be looking, and David Gray will be looking at that and going, right, there's the areas that we need to be better in. And I feel as if we need to be better, we need to be stronger physically all over the park. Whether that's 1-to-1 battles, winning tackles, winning shoulder tackles, just being stronger, being physically stronger than your direct opponent and winning your individual battles. And I think if Hibs can do that and get the players in, as I said, Lewis Stevenson comes into the team for me, definitely. Whether that's on the left-hand side of the midfield, whether that's left back or centre midfield, listen, Lewis can play anywhere, but I think he's got to come back into the team. Darren McGregor's, I know Rocky's maybe struggling a wee bit in injury, so I don't think Darren would let you down as well. Darren, Porteous, Hanlon back there. Yeah. Listen, so I think you need guys in the team, bottom line, you need guys in the team that know how to win an Edinburgh derby. They know what it's about. And it's okay playing younger players, and there's a lot of younger players in the team, but sometimes you need that experience in there. You need that know-how. And Darren McGregor certainly got that. Lewis Stevenson's got that. So it'll be interesting to see if one or both come into the team at the weekend.
One of the points I was going to make as well is if you think back to the 2016 Cup final, I think Hibs, when they were 2-1 down, sort of lost their belief a wee bit. And then on the documentary, I think it was McGinner, someone said they seen David Gray put a tackle in on the halfway line. And it sort of inspired the whole team. And they thought, God, if Gray's making a tackle and it's 10 minutes to go and we're still losing here, it just sent the right message. So I think maybe bring guys like McGregor and that back in could potentially work in our favour. But with the sort of re-injection of Porteous as well, you were talking about how Yogi says to you he was going to batter you if you never played well in the derby. I think that's maybe something we'll be missing from the current squad, a wee bit sort of fight, and do you think Porteous can bring that back into the team on Saturday?
Yeah, a wee bit of personality, a bit of character. Definitely. Listen, I think Ryan's been superb this season. I've praised him in the past, I've been critical in the past, some of his tackles and whatever, but I feel as if he's really settled down this season and he's shown that he's a very, very good football player. He's not flying into daft tackles, he's staying on his feet, and he's shown, that he's a good player. When balls there to be won, listen, you go and win it. Whether that's in the air or on the ground, you go and be strong and you win the tackles. But I think him coming back into the team is huge. I think he's a big personality in the whole squad. And listen, I think the Hibs are going to get a huge boost for him coming back. It's all about keeping 11 men in the pitch as well at the weekend. You know, you can't afford to get any men sent off, and I think that's what the manager will be saying as well before the game. Listen, we've got beat last week, and I know Hibs are going to come flying out the traps, but be sensible about it. And you're just talking about tackles in the semi-final. Paul Hanlon's tackle against Rangers. After about 30 seconds of the game, where he halved somebody in two, I can't remember, it might have been a Rebo in the semi-final. And I can remember watching that and going, I think he got a yellow card, but that was a message sent out to Rangers that, by the way, we're not going to get bullied here today. We're not going to get bullied. There's two teams in the pitch here. We're not going to run over the top of us. So maybe somebody can do a similar tackle on Saturday within the realms of not getting a red card, just to send out a message to Hearts that, by the way, we're here. You beat us last week, we're not going to beat us again today. So have a bit of that. So that's what I'd be thinking. Maybe take a yellow card.
And as someone who's won a semi-final at Hampden, Tam, what's your sort of words of advice for the team going forward? If you were to give the sort of pre-match team talk, what would you be saying to them?
Just leave everything out on the pitch. You know, come off the pitch with no regrets. You know, I played in cup finals and I come off the pitch with regrets, saying I could have done better, that I could have done this. You know, just go out and give everything you've got. And if you go out and you give everything, you run yourself into the ground and you're knackered after 60 or 70 minutes, you come off, somebody else comes on, you know, but you run hard, you tackle hard. Listen, Sean can say whatever he wants to the players before the game, but individually and as a team, it's up to you. And as soon as you cross that white line, you've got to go out and do it yourself, and you've got to win your battles. You know, you've got to be better than the guy you're up against. And if Hibs can win those individual battles, 9 or 10 of them, you know, then you're going to win the game. So I think that's what you've got to be looking at. You've got to go and win your battles, whether that be as a defender or as a striker. And you've got to have no regrets when you come off the pitch. And if you have no regrets, you play well and you get beat. Listen, that happens. But, you know, I think if Hibs can go out and play their potential and play well and win those individual battles and physically be as match hearts, then we can get into the final.
Right, perfect. Enjoyed talking to you there, Tam. I'll just pass you back over to Charlie. I think he's going to wrap things up.
Aye, so just to wrap up, Tam, thanks for coming on the podcast. It's been a really good opportunity to chat to. I know for Calvin, you were his favourite player growing up, and one of the first
favourite player. I had used to top you got behind you had Calvin 7 on the back yet.
Right, brilliant.
I know growing up, that was the season I started watching Hibs that year that we got to the League Cup final against Livingston. So talking to a boyhood hero has been class. And thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to us.
No, listen, your podcast's brilliant. I've listened to it a few times. I listened to Dave last week. So hopefully you can get more viewers and keep doing what you're doing, guys. Thanks
very much, mate. And before we finish, Jack, what's your score prediction for Saturday?
Oh, geez, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to say 1-0 Hibs.
1-0 Hibs. Calvin,
James
what's
Scott
yours?
to score, I know. Why no?
James
Scott. Wright did it at Tynecastle. James Scott will do it at Hampden.
Let's go. Calvin, what's yours, mate?
I was hoping you weren't going to go for this.
Nah, we need to, mate. We need to.
I'll go 2-0 Hibs. 2-0 Hibs.
I think we're due them a scudding. So I'm going to say 3-2 Hibs. I know it's not a scudding, but I think we'll batter them on the park, and I think we'll get it done. Tam, we'll probably not ask you your score prediction because you probably can't give us it, but I'm hoping you're hoping.
I'll give you 2-1.
Oh, go on, 2-1 Hibs. There we go.
Well, I'll tell you what. I hope we don't get beat, because me and Cliff last week at Tynecastle at the Alfie stand. I know we get beat 3-1, but I thought it was 1-0 and 2-0 with the gestures that the Hearts fans were giving me. You know what I mean?
Hopefully we can name 2-0 gestures at halftime this time. Full time. So.
I very much hope so. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode. We'll be back on Monday. We've got another guest coming on Monday to review, hopefully, a win at Hampden to see us into the final. But until next time, come on the Hibs.